before the war, the groups mixed. So, okay.
Организаторы, пожалуйста, запускайте студентов, ладно? Я трансляцию запустил.
Okay, you're up. Okay, two people.
И, досточтимый, с вашего позволения, я скажу пару слов в начале, хорошо?
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Так, секунду, я запущу еще запись. И я всех приветствую. Сегодня у нас занятие в рамках... Меня зовут Алексей, я волонтер буддийского центра Аридевы. И буддийский центр Аридевы в 2003 году основал ламу Сопа Ринпоче. И вот у нас в рамках нашего буддийского центра сейчас проходит курс «Открытие буддизма». И в частности модуль о бодхичитте. И я писал нескольким учителям, но в силу своей занятости они не смогли принять участие в нашем курсе, вот именно в этом модуле. И потом я подумал, что рискну и напишу еще Тубтен Чодрон. Мало ли, вдруг повезет. И Тубтен Чодрон сказал мне, да, конечно, это моя любимая тема, и согласилась провести сегодняшнее занятие. Так что у нас большая удача, что сегодня такой учитель такого уровня с нами будет заниматься. И я скажу еще пару слов о Thubten Чодрон. Это американская буддийская монахиня. Она более 50 лет изучает и практикует буддизм. И у нее такие учителя, как Его Святейшество Далай-лама, лама Сопа Ринпоче, Серконг Ринпоче, Линд Ринпоче, лама Еше. И Досточтимая была несколько раз в России и проводила здесь ретриты и даровала учения. У нее есть много русских учеников. Она основала в Америке первую монашескую общину для западных практикующих монахов и монахинь. И ведет много всяких просветительских проектов, и буддийских, и светских. И перед началом учения давайте в знак почтения и прошения обучения предлагаю произнести краткую молитву подношения мандалы. Я произнесу ее вслух, а вы можете произнести вслед за мной, либо как свою версию произнести, как вам угодно, либо можете представить, что вы говорите моим голосом. Давайте сделаем это. Землю, окропленную водой благовонной, усыпанную разными цветами, гору совершенную, 4 континента, и светило, солнце и луну, я воображаю чистой буддовую землею, в дар как подношение приношу, чтоб все существа прийти смогли бы к чистому блаженству в землях Будд. Идам гору ратна мандала кан ниретаями. Досточтимые, передаю вам слова.
Okay. Do you have I think the prayer, taking refuge in generating bodhicitta, is in Russian. So good to do that 3 times too, to help us set our motivation. So
Хорошо, я произнесу, а все остальные можете повторить за мной. К учителю Будде, учению, высшее общение, телом, речью, умом, иду как прибежище до пробуждения вместе со всеми живыми существами. К учителю Будде, учению, высшее общение, телом, речью и умом, иду как прибежище до пробуждения вместе со всеми живыми существами. К учителю Будде, учению, высшее общение, телом, речью и умом, иду как прибежище до пробуждения вместе со всеми живыми существами. Пусть драгоценная бодхичитта, не зародившаяся, зародится, а зародившаяся не угасает, но возрастает сильнее и сильнее.
So I'm very happy to be here with all of you. Yes, I've been to Russia several times. And actually, when I was in university, I studied Russian language, but I've forgotten everything since then. And some of my ancestors are from Russia. So there's some connection there. So despite all the politics and so on, discord going on in the world, we're all so fortunate to know the Dharma, have met the Dharma, and, you know, can with the blessings, quote, quote, blessings of Zoom, be able to talk about the Dharma from one part of the world to the other part of the world. So it's, you know, something quite special that way. So quite happy to be here. I really sincerely wish that the leaders of our countries, your country, my country, could sit down and listen to some Dharma. Yeah, that would really change things. So, you know, as we generate a bodhicitta motivation to really use our time together, so we all progress towards awakening, towards enlightenment, then let's include all the people in all of our countries and all sentient beings everywhere, you know, and make them part of our motivation so that we can really be inspired by the Dharma and practice it purely. Okay. So talking about bodhicitta, yeah, like she said, it's one of my favorite topics. Yeah. Before I get into bodhicitta, I want to say one more thing. Your center is named Aryadeva. Yeah. Aryadeva is one of my favorite Indian masters. He wrote a book called The 400, and I don't know if anybody has taught it, you know, there so that you learn something about Aryadeva and his philosophy, but it's a fantastic book. And if you can have teachings on it at some point, I really recommend it. It's a book that really dramatically changed my Dharma practice when I had the fortune to study it. Okay, so back to bodhicitta. Yeah, so to remember that bodhicitta is a mind that is supported by two aspirations. One aspiration to be of the greatest benefit to all sentient beings, and the second aspiration to become a fully awakened Buddha in order to be of the greatest benefit. Okay, so bodhicitta is supported by great compassion, but it is much more than great compassion. Yeah. And I say this because sometimes when people are very nice to us, somebody will say, oh, they must be a bodhisattva. Well, just being a nice person, that's great, but that doesn't make you a bodhisattva. Okay. To be a bodhisattva, you have to have that bodhicitta aspiration. And that's not an easy aspiration to really generate and make stable in our mind. Yeah. Why? What makes it difficult? It's our self-centered mind. Okay. And the self-centered mind is our biggest enemy. And this is really important to think about in depth and come to some feeling inside of ourselves about the faults, the disadvantages of the self-centered mind. Because usually when we have problems, our problems are due to other people. Our problems are due to something outside of us, and whenever there's interpersonal problems, we always feel, I didn't do anything wrong. Why are people criticizing me? Why, don't people like me? Why is there this problem? And, we always see it as something outside, and we are just this sweet, innocent victim who, mean well, but nobody really understands us, and that's why we get criticized and so on. Okay, so we usually see the world very much like that our happiness and our suffering are outside, depend on external things, and we are just here, bombarded by all of it. And so we usually see, our deepest wish is to be happy and to avoid suffering. And so, if happiness and suffering come from outside, then we spend all our time and energy trying to rearrange the external world so it becomes the way we like it, the way we want it. Yeah, so that we're surrounded by the people we like, the people we don't like, banish, get away. We have everything we like, the food we like, the music we like, the comfort we like. Yeah, and we want to arrange the external world because we see our happiness coming externally and like this. Okay, so taking what I can get, pushing away what I don't like. Yeah, but this view of the world is totally upside down. Yeah, totally upside down. Because if we spend just even a little bit of time looking at how happiness and suffering arise, and if we have a teacher who can explain to us how these arise, we begin to see that we're not just like innocent people, yeah, but we are actually the major creator of our experience. Okay, and this can be a shock to us because if we are the one who is responsible for creating our happiness and also our misery, then that means, that if we want to change the situation, we have to change ourselves. And we can't go on with this kind of victim mentality of the world doesn't treat me properly. Okay, do you know what I mean? Is this ringing some bells? Yeah? Okay, think about it. Yeah. So just to give you a simple example of how this works, and you might already be aware of this, but I don't think it can be emphasized too much, our role in creating our experience. Okay, so we've all had the experience of going into a room, maybe a class or a workplace or party, where we don't know anybody. Yeah, you had that experience? Yeah, you go in a room full of strangers. Okay, now one person goes into that room saying, "Oh, I don't know anybody. Um, I'm sure they all know each other. They're all friends. I'm going to go in. Nobody's going to talk to me because they're busy talking to their friends. I'm going to be ignored. I'm just going to stand there and feel really left out. Um, why do I have to go into this room? It's going to be so unpleasant. So one person has that attitude before they even enter the room. Okay. Another person, has the attitude of, oh, okay, I'm going into a room where I don't know anybody. Wow, that's going to be so interesting. There's all these people with so many different life experiences, and I can talk to them and learn about their lives, learn about how they think. This is going to be so interesting. Okay? So two different people, two different attitudes. The person who's thinking, oh, I don't know anybody, I'm going to be left out. Yeah, what kind of experience are they going to have when they go in? They're going to have the experience that they're mentally prepared to have, because they'll feel, everybody knows each other, I'm left out, so, I can't talk to anybody. So they're going to feel alone and left out. The person who says, wow, this is going to be interesting, they're going to go in there and they're going to start talking to people and learn a lot, and they'll have a very good time. Okay, same external situation. Two people having two different experiences. Why? Because they have two different ways of thinking. Yeah, two different ways of thinking. So our way of thinking, how we just think the situation is going to be, is really a key factor determining what our experience is going to be. Yeah. And especially if we go into a situation feeling like afraid, then we're going to have kind of a very uncomfortable, situation with somebody. If we go in with an optimistic attitude, then it's much, easier to have a good conversation with somebody. Okay. So my point is that we're a co-creator of our experience. Okay. By what we're thinking now. Okay. Another factor that is creating our experience is our karma. Yeah. And our karma also depends on our mind. Yeah. The chief thing in creating karma is our mental state, our intention, why we do something. Yeah. So according to the actions we've done in the past, they've left different karmic seeds on our mind stream, and these ripen during our life and help create our experience. So all of this, whether it's the karma from the intentions of things that we did in the past life, or whether it's our present way of looking at the situation, both of these stem from our mind and how we're thinking. Okay. So when you really meditate on this for some time and gain some conviction that, yes, this is what's going on, then it really it causes a big shift in how we look at the world. Yeah. Because then instead of just saying, oh, I have no power, people are taking advantage of me, they misunderstand me, whatever it is, we realize, no, I have responsibility and I have power. I cannot change the other person or the other people, but I can change my own way of looking at things. I can change my own intentions so that I can create some virtuous karma that will bring good situations in the future. Okay, so it really the more we think about this and gain certainty of this kind of way of looking at life, the more we realize that we have to step up to the plate and and act, and not just see happiness and suffering as coming from outside. Okay, so this is a very important perspective to be aware of if we're going to cultivate bodhicitta. Okay, because like I said before, the chief factor impeding our bodhicitta is our self-centered mind. The mind that is always thinking about me, I, my, and mine. Okay, that is our worldly mantra. Okay, it's not Om Mani Padme Hum. It's me, I, my, and mine. What's the most important thing in the world? Me. We frame everything in the world in terms of how it affects me, because I happen to be, just by coincidence, I happen to be the most important person in the world. And the problem with the world from this view, why we have so many problems, is because people don't do what I want. And so as a result, we have lots of advice for other people about how they should change, what they should do. Because if they change, then I will be happy. Okay, so do you have some advice for your family members? Some advice that what your parents can do, and not do. And if you're in a relationship or you're married, I bet you have some advice for your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, how they can just change a little bit, and then, you'll get along great. You'll have a wonderful relationship. And if you have kids, then you have advice for your kids, how they should change, clean up their room, don't talk back, be cooperative. You have advice for them. I don't know about you, but I have plenty advice for the government of the country I live in. Do you have advice for your government? And if only I have some advice for your government too, and I think you probably have some advice for my government as well, And why do we have so many problems in this world? Because people don't listen to our advice. If only people followed our advice, we would be happy, the world would be peaceful, everything would be great. Okay? And so we think my role in the world is to change everybody else. Okay? So why is there war going on? Because everybody's thinking about themselves and what they can gain out of it. And they're seeing an external enemy, that they have to conquer. From a Buddhist viewpoint, it's not the external enemy. The real enemy is our own self-centered mind, because our own self-centered mind creates the karma, it created the karma in previous lives. It influences our current attitude, in which we're only thinking about me, I, my, and mine. So the enemy is not external beings, it's our own self-centeredness, our own ego grasping. Okay, so this doesn't mean we're bad people. It doesn't mean that we're hopeless. What it means is that we have some power to change our experience by changing our mind, changing our motivations. Yeah. So we have the ability to do that, which is actually good, because if happiness and suffering only came from outside, yeah, and I can't control the external world, then there's nothing I can do really to try and be happy, because it's all coming from outside. And although I have wonderful advice for everybody else, nobody follows my advice. Can you imagine that? I have such good advice, and my family should follow it. The government should follow it. My friends should follow it. Don't you think that way? Yeah? Do you have that attitude? If only people followed my advice. Yeah? And the problem with the world is they don't. Yeah. And furthermore, those people give me advice. How dare they? Yeah. I know what's good. I know what I want. Why are they giving me advice? They should follow my advice. Yeah. And so we can see here why there's so much conflict in the world. Yeah. Because we're all coming from this view that I am the most important one. Yeah. And the problem with the world is that people don't see that I'm the most important one. So they don't follow what I want. They don't follow my advice. So you have a whole world full of sentient beings who each and every sentient being thinks I am the most important one. My happiness and my suffering matter more than anybody else's. Yeah. And this is a big source of our internal turmoil and unhappiness. And it's the source of the conflict in the world as well. Yeah. Because everybody's just thinking about me, I, my, and mine. Okay. So what's the problem with just being self-centered? Yeah. The problem is that it's the wrong view. Yeah. It sees the world in a very upside down way. Yeah. And it creates all the conflict, because we expect other people to change and do what we want, and they don't. Yeah. And we make no effort to change ourselves, our actions, or even our attitude. But instead constantly blaming outside. Yeah. So when we have an attitude in which we're always blaming external people, external situations, yeah, then that's a setup for misery, isn't it? Because we can't control all of that. We think we should be able to control it, but we can't. Yeah. In fact, we can't even control our own mind. When you sit down to meditate, can you control your mind? Can you stay focused on one object for even a minute? Even, watching the breath to calm the mind. Can you watch your breath for a minute or 2 minutes without getting distracted? Anybody? Yeah. we see, we can't even control our own mind, let alone control other people's minds and other people's actions. Yeah. So we have to start with changing ourselves, because that's the only thing that we actually can be successful in changing. Okay. And that's why we practice the Dharma. Yeah. We don't practice the Dharma so that we can worship some God, some kind of creator who created the world and has a master plan. That's not why we practice the Dharma. The Buddha did not create the world. The Buddha does not have a master plan. We cannot say everything is the Buddha's will. Yeah. So what we're thinking about, what we're following, is a very different perspective on life, where, we're the creator of our happiness and misery, and we need to change. We can't just sit back and say, God will fix it, or this is God's will. We can't do that. Yeah. If it were God's will and God is compassionate, well, then why do we have such a mess? Yeah. If God created the world and all the people in it, why did he create us the way he did? He really did not a very good job. Yeah. He created us with ignorance, anger, and attachment. Okay. So that's why, from a Buddhist view, we don't see, worshiping an external deity as the way to find happiness. It has to do with changing what's in here. Okay. So the fault of the self-centered mind. First of all, it makes us divide the world into friend, enemy, and strangers. Okay. So there's certain people that we call friends, certain people we call enemies, and certain people we don't know. They're strangers. Okay. So for a minute, when you think of somebody that's your friend or a family member, somebody you feel very close to, okay? Why do you love that person so much? Why do you like that person so much? What is it that makes your relationship with them good? Okay, think about that for a minute. And then think about somebody you don't like, who you don't get along with. Yeah. What is it that makes you not like that person? Yeah. Why do you have aversion to them or anger? Mm-hmm. And then the people who are strangers, yeah, we don't kind of care one way or another. We're apathetic. Why are we apathetic towards strangers? Okay. So these are very important things. If we had more time, I would lead you in a meditation exploring this. It's quite interesting. But when we look, yeah, why do I like some people and feel close to them? Well, they like me. They're nice to me. They agree with my ideas. We have the same opinions about different kinds of things. They help me. They praise me. They stick up for me. If somebody else gives me problems. These people stick up for me. Yeah. They come to my aid. If I'm sick, they help me. Okay. So that's why, the people that we like, that we love, that's usually why. Okay. Now, what about the enemies? The people we don't like, the people, yeah. Why don't we like them? Well, they threaten me. Yeah. They interfere with my happiness. They disagree with my ideas. They steal my things. They take my things. They don't respect me. They criticize me when I haven't done anything wrong. Yeah, they cheat me. They lie to me. They might even kill me. Okay. That's usually why we don't like some people. Okay. What about the stranger? Why are we apathetic? We don't care about them. Why? Well, I don't know them. They don't influence me. Yeah, strangers are kind of like cars on the road. They're just things that I have to navigate around to get what I want. So I don't look at strangers as people who have feelings, who want to be happy and not suffer. Yeah. Okay. So if we look at why do we like friends? Why do we not like enemies? Why don't we care about strangers? What word do you keep hearing again and again about the why? What word do you keep hearing in this discussion? Me. Wow. Me. People who are nice to me, they are good people. People who are mean to me, they are bad people. People who don't influence me one way or another, who cares? It's very interesting, isn't it? How we divide the world into these three groups. And what's the criteria on how we divide them? How they relate to me, the center of the universe, me. Okay, it all depends. They're good people if they're nice to me. They're bad people if they don't like me. Okay, it's all based on me. Yeah, because I'm the center of the universe. Is that how you look at life? If you're really honest with yourself? Yeah. Who do you wake up, when you wake up in the morning, what's your first thought? Yeah. Is it that there's people starving in Sudan, in Africa? No, our first thought in the morning is, well, what about my coffee? Or what do I have to do today? Or I want to go back to sleep. Yeah. All day long, who are we taking care of? Whose happiness are we looking out for? All the time. Me. Yeah. And other people are kind of pawns. They, can give me happiness or they can threaten me. Yeah, but I'm the most important one. So there's some problems with this kind of attitude. Yeah, we think that being self-centered will give us happiness and protect us from harm. But actually, self-centeredness is what causes our pain and misery. Okay? So we have it really upside down, really backwards. So how does self-centeredness cause our misery? Well, first of all, if I give people advice and they don't follow it, I'm upset, I'm angry, and it's their fault. And I can't change them. And I'm miserable because they're not doing what I want. Okay? So basically, the self-centered attitude, we give our power away. Yeah, in the sense that we see happiness and suffering as coming from outside. And I can't control it, although I should be able to control it. And that's the problem with the world. People don't do what I want. They don't follow my advice. And I can't make them follow my advice. So I'm always frustrated. Yeah. I always feel like, things aren't going right. Okay. Is this ringing some bells inside? Is this describing your experience? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look inside. Don't be afraid to nod your head yes or no, when I ask questions. It's actually very helpful to me to see how you're responding. Okay. So if we look in our lives, yeah, then we can really see this very clearly, how the self-centered attitude works. Yeah. And this is really what is going on in the world. The leader of each country, yeah, or the group of leaders, are all thinking about themselves, and each country is thinking about itself and blaming other countries for the problems and the conflict in the world. On a personal level, we do the same thing. Yeah. Why are there problems? It's because my parents do this and my siblings do that, and my friends should do this, but they don't. Okay. So we wind up being quite miserable and feeling sometimes rather angry at the world, as well as feeling helpless. If we realize that our experiences of happiness and suffering come due to our own mind, our own karma, our own attitudes, our own motivations, then we would stop being so sensitive to what everybody else is saying and doing. And we would be more self-aware, and we would work more on creating virtuous and realistic attitudes. Yeah. Okay. So to give you a few more examples. So I had this is an example I use a lot. I have a friend who, this happened many years ago, who was pregnant. And when you're pregnant, you're supposed to gain weight because you're going to have a baby. Okay. So, of course, she was pregnant. She was putting on weight. She was going to see her sister in another state, and she hadn't seen her sister in a while. So she told me, when I get off the plane, my sister's going to look at me and say, "Ah, you're getting fat. You're putting on weight." Yeah, I know my sister's going to say that. She's going to criticize me for putting on weight. And, she always has something kind of nasty like that to say. And, I'm going to see her, but we're just not going to get along. Okay, she hasn't even gotten there. She hasn't even gone to the airport to get on the plane. But she already knows what her sister's going to say to her, and she's already ready to be disappointed and frustrated and angry at her sister. Yeah. And nothing has even happened yet. Yeah. But sure enough, she goes, yeah. And even if her sister doesn't say, "Oh, you're getting fat," she will probably hear that anyway. She'll say, "Oh, well, she didn't say it, but she looked at me like, you're putting on weight." Yeah. Okay. So we make conflict in relationships by how we're thinking, and setting everything up in terms of me, I, my, and mine. Yeah. How many of you have children? Raise your hand if you have kids. Yeah. Okay. Oh, lots of you have kids. Okay. So when your kids come home from school and they just took a spelling test and they flunked their spelling test. Okay. So there's the simple word, some simple 3 or 4 letter word that your child, they're in primary 1, first grade. Okay. So they're maybe 6, 7 years old, and they misspelled this 3-letter word, which actually, I don't know in Russian so well, but in English, sometimes the way words are spelled is ridiculous. It's very different than how they're pronounced. Yeah. So, your kid misspelled this word. Yeah. It's actually no big deal, is it? But you're a parent. My child flunked their spelling test. Oh, no. Yeah. How are they going to get into a good secondary school? How will they get into a university? If they don't have a good education, they won't be able to make any money. They'll be on the street begging, and everybody will blame me for being a bad parent. And all of this is going to happen because my child misspelled a 3-letter word. Okay? You take that and you extrapolate. Oh, my child has, there's dyslexic. They're never going to learn to spell. You forget that there's now spell check, and they can check their spelling on the computer. They'll be okay. But you're a parent. You forgot. All you're concerned with is your child failed this test. And it's a disaster. Their whole future is in jeopardy. You've got to now have them after school. They can't go out and play. They've got to be home, and you're going to quiz them on their spelling test every week so that they can pass their test. You're going to quiz them so that they know that 1 and 1 equals 2, because what happens if they don't know what 1 and 1 makes? the world, they're not going to have a future. Yeah, a little bit exaggerated, huh? Yeah. As a parent, do you extrapolate that way? And think, oh, my child's going to fall apart. Yeah, they're going to wind up in the street begging. Okay, step back for a minute. Do you think really that not being able to spell that 3-letter word is such a big deal? Yeah. Is it a big deal? No. Is it going to foretell your child's whole future? No. Why are you so anxious about it as a parent? Yeah. Because what happens to that child is indicative of what kind of parent I am. I don't want to be criticized for being a bad parent. If my child is a success, then I'm a success. That's a pretty heavy burden to put on your child, isn't it? You've got to be successful in the way I want you to be successful. And then I will feel good about myself. You're putting that on your kid. Yeah. And our parents probably put it on us. Yeah. One of my friends told me that when he had his first child, he was holding the child who was an infant. He had the kid's whole future planned out. What they were going to learn, how the things, and then they're going to have music lessons and art lessons, and they're going to be good in math and good in literature, and they're going to grow up and they're going to, go to the best schools and be world renowned because they're going to discover something or make something very important. And he said he had the kid's whole future spread out. And then he looked, and it's just a little baby. And he had to say, what am I doing? Yeah. When you have a child, yeah, do you know your child's interests? Do you know what their talents are? Yeah. No, when you have a kid, it's jackpot, or it's like gambling. You don't know what you're gonna get. Yeah. You think that you can shape your kid's whole life. But okay, let me ask those of you who are parents. Did your children, do they come in with their own personalities, or do they come in as blank slates, completely unformed? Do they come in with their own personalities? They do, don't they? Yeah. Some babies are very peaceful. Some babies are frightened by loud sounds. Yeah. They don't come in as blank slates. They come in with their own karma. They come in with their own interests. Yeah. And you have a very strong influence on them as their parent, but you can't control them. Yeah. So if your self-centered attitude is saying, I want my child to be an engineer, I want them to be a doctor, I want them to be an artist, I want them to be a musician, whatever you think your child should be. If your child isn't interested in that, then what? Yeah, you want your child to be a great scientist, but your kid likes music and they're good at music and they bring happiness to other people when they play music. And you're pushing them, oh, you've got to go and, be a scientist and discover something. Yeah, but they don't want to. Yeah. Are you going to have a happy family? Yeah. Yeah. So you have to see with your children, what are their interests? What are their talents? Yeah. And nurture that instead of nurturing a specific career that you want them to have. Okay. I was telling Venerable Kunshok, who is the tech person behind the talk here, I was telling him this morning that my family wanted me to be a doctor. Yeah, I was supposed to be a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Yeah. And the last thing in mind that my parents had for me to be was a Buddhist nun. In fact, if you had asked me when I was 20 years old if I would be a Buddhist nun, I would have told you you're crazy. I would, why in the world would I do that? Okay. And my parents said, you're becoming a what? A what? What are my friends going to say? Yeah. My friend's daughter here is doing a good business. That friend's daughter, is a doctor. That friend's daughter is a lawyer. And I have to say, my daughter is a Buddhist nun? Are you crazy? Yeah. But so they were very unhappy because they were thinking, I want my child to be this, 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 this. And that wasn't who I was. Yeah. My brother, thank goodness, he became a doctor. So I was off the hook. Yeah. I was supposed to have children. I was the oldest. I was supposed to give my parents grandchildren. No, that didn't interest me either. Yeah. My brother and sister had children. Wonderful. Okay. But the point I'm getting at here is, if you have lots of expectations of a child, a spouse, a friend, anybody yeah, and if they don't fulfill your expectations, you're going to be unhappy. You're going to say and do things that make them unhappy. It may even create conflict, in the bigger space. If you work at a place and you don't like one colleague and you let that colleague know that you don't like them, that's going to influence everybody who works there, because that feeling of disharmony permeates. And all of this, what's the origin of all of our misery and the things that we're saying and doing that are causing disharmony around us? The source is our own self-centered mind, isn't it? Yeah. So it makes us stop and reflect, how do I speak to other people? How do I even, what are my expectations of other people? Because our expectations also are a reflection of our self-centered mind. What we expect from other people go according to what I call my rules of the universe. Okay? My rules of the universe. How I think the universe should run. How I think other people should be, what other people should do, how different countries should behave, and different leaders should behave. Yeah. I have rules of the universe. And if people follow my rules of the universe, we're all going to live happily ever after. If people don't follow my rules of the universe, I'm going to be miserable. And it's their fault. It's not my fault. It's their fault. Okay? So we all have these rules of the universe. Yeah. Expectations we have of how people should be and what they should think. Okay. So I'm going to tell you some of my rules of the universe. I just looked at the clock and there was a request that we have a short break. So maybe before I tell you my rules of the universe, we take a short break, okay? Yeah. Okay, so 5 minutes? Okay, stand up, stretch, wiggle, pet your cat, pet the dog. But come back in 5 minutes. Because if you don't, I'm going to be miserable because I want you to come back.
There we go.
Okay, everybody. Okay, am I in the center of the picture? Yeah, it's okay. Okay. So I'm going to tell you my rules of the universe. Okay. And while I'm telling you, see if you have some of those same rules of the universe. Okay. First rule of the universe, everybody has to like me. Nobody is allowed not to like me. Yeah. Everybody has to like me. Second rule of the universe, everybody has to agree with my ideas and my opinions. Why? Because what I think is always the correct thing. I would never think anything incorrect. So everybody should agree with my ideas and my opinions. Yeah. Because third rule of the universe, I am always right. Always right. Never wrong. Yeah. My ideas are right. If we don't agree, on something that's going on in the relationship, I'm right and you're wrong. Yeah. So that works really well, especially if you're married, which I'm not, thank goodness. But some of you are. And if you have a quarrel with your spouse and you're doing it from the viewpoint of I'm right and you're wrong, how does that turn out? Yeah. But that's how we usually look at things. I'm right and you're wrong. Because whatever I think is the right thing. So everybody should agree with it. Yeah. Another rule of the universe, everybody should follow my advice. Okay. Everybody should praise me. Nobody should criticize me because I don't have any faults and I don't make mistakes. So, well, okay, once in a while I make a little mistake, but you should never notice my mistakes. And you should never point out my faults to me because they're all little. Yeah. The big problem is what you're doing and what other people are doing. My faults are little. Okay. I should have a lot of wealth. I should get the jobs I want. Everybody should praise me, not just on a personal level, but the whole society should see how wonderful I am. At your workplace, I want to be noticed as the best worker, the most intelligent manager, the kindest person. I want to be noticed for that. Yeah. And that's my rule of the universe. Yeah. Does the universe cooperate with my rules? Yeah. No. No. Okay. I have, more rules of the universe. Yeah. The government should care about the people. Oh, goodness. Really? Government should care about the people. Nobody in the society should suffer. Everyone should have enough food They should have a place to live. They should have health care. Yeah, the world should be like this. I don't know about your country, but country I live in, it's not like that. Yeah. So I have all my rules of the universe, but the universe doesn't cooperate. Yeah. And I always think outside should change. But that's I think, the whole beauty of the Buddha's teachings is that the Buddha tells us how we can change. And by changing ourselves, then how we experience the world changes, and what we contribute to the world changes. Okay? When we're only thinking about ourselves, we usually contribute greed, selfishness, problems, discord. When we contribute a mind that cares about others, we, create harmony. We create peace and good feelings among people, which also brings better health. Yeah. So this is something really to look at, because like I said at the beginning, we look at bodhicitta, and bodhicitta is a wonderful aspiration. Wouldn't you like to just have the mind that says, I dedicate my life to all sentient beings. I want to really contribute to their happiness. And to do that, I want to become a Buddha, because that will give me the abilities, the talents, everything humanly, or possible to contribute to happiness in this world and all worlds, wherever I happen to be born in the future. Yeah. So I want to have the bodhicitta, but the biggest problem, self-centered mind. Okay. And it starts with dividing everybody into friend, enemy, stranger. And it continues with, I'm right, and everybody should do what I want. And this is really the source of our problems. Okay. So then the question is, how do we change that self-centered attitude? What do we do with it? Because we can't just say, oh, okay, from now on, I'm never going to be selfish, because we've been selfish since beginningless time. This is our whole outlook on the world. Yeah. So we have to do some pretty deep changing. It's like reformatting the disk. Yeah. So how do we do that? One thing that is very important along this line is seeing the kindness of others. Because when we train our mind to see others' kindness, then we feel close to them. We understand them. Yeah. And we also become more patient with them. We're not as judgmental, because when we see people as kind, then, our attitude is different, and we act differently towards them. So then the question becomes, well, how do I see people as kind? Because really, in this world, some people are complete jerks. They're complete idiots. I'm using slang language here. I hope you can translate, okay? Yeah. But how do I see other people as kind? Some of them they just drive me crazy. They're so stupid. Yeah, they make bad decisions. They don't follow my rules of the universe. Yeah. So how in the world are they kind? So there's this whole meditation on seeing the kindness of others that for me has been one that's, personally speaking, has really changed my outlook. Yeah, this meditation has had a very strong influence on me. So, you start out thinking of the kindness of the people that you already like. That's fairly easy. Your friends, you can see the kindness of your friends because that's why we're friends with them. If they weren't kind to us, if they didn't follow our rules of the universe, we wouldn't like them. They wouldn't be friends. So our friends, we can see are kind. That's easy. Okay. Sometimes with family, yeah, we can see their kindness, but we can also be quite critical of family members. Yeah. And here, the meditation on the kindness of our parents is quite important. Okay. I don't know how it is so much in Russia. But in the US, we don't think so much of the kindness of our parents. Yeah, we think of ourselves, our own happiness. But, if you think of the kindness of your parents, and when we were first born, we were infants. Yeah, in the middle of the night, what did we do? We cried, we were hungry. I'm hungry. Yeah, yeah. We cry. And our parents, especially our mom, has to get up in the middle of the night to feed us. Yeah. And this isn't just one time, it's like every night. And this goes on for a few years. Yeah. And when we were infants and cried and wanted food in the middle of the night, did we ever say please? When our mother woke up and fed us, even though all she wanted to do was sleep, because she's been sleep deprived, did we ever say thank you for feeding us as infants? No. Yeah. As we grew up from infants, yeah, psychologists have this term, the terrible twos, because when you turn 2 years old, during the second year of your life, that's when you learn the word no. So how did we react to our parents when we became 2 and older? Our parents say, come, it's dinner time. No. Come, do your homework. No. Come, the family is going out. Yeah, we'll have a good time. No. Yeah, we learn how to say no. And we say no plenty of times, don't we? I don't want to. Yeah. Our parents want us to learn a certain topic. And no, they want us to, take art lessons or music lessons. No, they want us to become a great athlete and go to the Olympics. No, you know, they want us to clean up our room. No. I don't know. Anybody like that as a kid? Yeah. No, I'm sure you were all wonderful children, huh? Very cooperative, did everything your parents wanted. Always say, Mommy, Daddy, I love you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I always have audiences, where the people are all they're the most wonderful children. Yeah. But if you look back at your own childhood, how much did we really appreciate what our parents did for us? Yeah. How much did we appreciate it? And how much did we appreciate the factors that influenced our parents when we were kids? Okay, just to give you an example, okay, with my family, my grandparents were immigrants. Yeah, most of them came from, the Russian area or the Pale, that kind of Eastern European Russian area. They came to America around the turn of the 19th century, the turn of the 20th century, like the early 20s. And they came, they had no money, they didn't know English. They were kind of like, refugees, basically. And they worked very hard. My parents were the first generation born here, so their job was to make the family financially stable, to be successful, to pull the family out of poverty. Yeah. So my mom and dad worked very, very hard to do that. Yeah. Did I appreciate that? No. I just expected, when I wanted toys, that I should get the toys I wanted. Yeah. But my parents grew up during the Depression. Yeah, in the late 20s and during the 30s. My parents grew up during the Second World War. Look at some of you, maybe your parents or your grandparents grew up during World War II, which for Russia was horrible. What happened to the country, what people went through. Yeah. When we think of our parents and what they went through in their lives, do we appreciate what they did for us? Because they wanted us to have a very different experience than what they had, especially if our parents lived through the war. Yeah. Okay. So really thinking of the kindness of our parents and opening our heart, have some understanding for all the factors that conditioned our parents and that made them kind to us. And of course, our parents had limitations too, but we certainly have faults and limitations. Yeah. But their kindness to us was amazing. When you think, that they went to work every day to earn money, to buy food so that we would have enough to eat, so that we would have a roof over our head, so that we would have medicine. Yeah. They worked very hard so that we would have an education. Yeah. Did we ever thank our parents for everything they did during all those years of bringing us up when we, like most kids, just basically think of ourselves and say no when we don't want to do something. So I think that, this meditation, just starting with our friends and then especially our family. Yeah. Yes, these are imperfect people and we don't agree with everything they do and how they think. But wow, that doesn't matter compared to the incredible kindness they've shown us. Yeah. And then if you think that we've known each other in previous lives, then okay, this kindness isn't just this life. It's gone on for many, many lifetimes. Okay, the kindness of the people we know. What about the kindness of strangers? Okay, like I said before, strangers, we don't know them. Doesn't matter. They're happy, they're not happy. I don't care because they don't influence me. But step back and look at it this way. Okay, everybody, you have a shirt on, right? Yeah? Did you make your own clothes? Did you make the material that your clothes are made from? Yeah. Did you grow the cotton? Yeah. Did you shear the sheep to get wool? Yeah. Where did your clothes come from? Yeah. The store. You went to a store and bought them. How many people, their life effort lay behind your having a shirt to wear? Yeah. Growing the cotton, let's say, or working at a factory that made polyester. Yeah. Or, any number of things. Yeah. Cutting the material, stitching it, designing it. Yeah. We just go and get a shirt and we don't think of how many people, their life energy was put into our having a shirt. That's kindness, isn't it? We don't know those people. We don't know them. But it doesn't matter. They don't have to know us to be kind to us. The bottom line is that we benefit from what they contributed in society. Okay. How about food? Everybody eat today? Yeah. Did you grow your own food? Yeah. You may have cooked your own food, but did you grow your own food? Did you harvest your own food? Maybe you had, pasta or, made from wheat. Did you grow the wheat? Did you harvest the wheat? Did you take care of the wheat fields? Yeah. Maybe you had some yogurt, you had cheese. Yeah. Do you know the farmers who herded the cows? Yeah. Who milked the cows, who transported the milk, who pasteurized it, who put it in bottles and took it to the store, who put it on the shelves of the store. Do you know those people? How many of you eat meat? Yeah. Do you know the animal who gave up their life so that you could have lunch or dinner? Would you give up your life so that somebody could eat your body? Think about it. Yeah, you go to the store and buy meat. Do you ever think that some living being who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer as much as I want to be happy and not suffer, they died so that I could have meat to eat? I wouldn't do that for somebody else. The kindness of those animals, the kindness of the farmers, the kindness of the people who work in the factories that make our clothes, yeah, that make much of the food, process the food that we have. Yeah, and when you think of all the different things you ate today and trace them back, wow, so many people were involved in producing even one apple that we eat. How kind. How kind. And like I said, they don't have to know us. They don't have to do it explicitly for us. The bottom line is that we benefit from their life energy. Okay. What about people who work on the road? People who make the highways, who make the streets, who fix the potholes, who make the road broader. Yeah. Do you ever think about them and their kindness? Yeah. What about the people who work in the electric company, the public utility company? The people who make it so that we all have electricity, which means because of electricity, we can meet on Zoom today and share things. Yeah. How many people, went into designing the whole electric grid, constructing it, yeah, fixing all the wires, after a storm, when the electric wires go down and the electricity goes out. Yeah. Do we know those people? Yeah. Do we know the people who built the roads that those people travel on, that we drive on? Do we ever stop to thank the people who are working on the roads? Do we stop to thank the people who are climbing and fixing electric wires and so on? Yeah. Usually we don't. We just drive right by. Okay. What about trash collectors, your garbage collectors? Yeah. I once was in a major city in a country when the garbage collectors were on strike. Oh my goodness. I had always taken garbage collectors for granted before that. But when I walked down the street of that city, and there's big bags of garbage on the sidewalk, on the curb, it's like, wow, garbage collectors are very important. Yeah. Without garbage collectors, yeah, disease would be rampant because, the garbage sits on the street, the rats come in, things decay, bacterial come, and disease spreads. Yeah. Garbage collectors are so important for our well-being. Yeah. Do you ever thank your garbage collector? Yeah. Does the thought even enter our mind to thank the garbage collector? Yeah. Or to thank, the person building the roads that we drive on, to thank the person fixing the electric wires. Yeah. So our whole life is dependent on other sentient beings. We can't stay alive without other living beings. We're not independent, isolated people. I can run my own life. We're totally dependent on others. Yeah, if you think about it, could you feed yourself? Grow your own food, harvest it. Yeah. Could you make your own clothes? Could you, build your own house? We're totally dependent on others. And that means that they've been kind to us. So again, when you really spend, and this is a wonderful meditation to do, just spending time thinking about how others have been kind to us. Yeah, totally changes our attitude towards other people. Yeah, because they've been kind, and okay, they make mistakes, they have some faults. That's nothing compared to their kindness. Yeah. And when you really do this meditation a lot, then when you see different people, you begin to see kindness instead of just strangers. Yeah. And your suspicion of other people, it really gets subdued. Some people are quite anxious, they're quite suspicious. Who's going to help me? Who's going to harm me? Who's going to criticize me? Yeah. But when you really contemplate the kindness of others, yeah, this kind of anxiety and suspicion goes way down. Okay. But then somebody is going to say, but, yes, all those people are kind, but there's some really awful people in the world, and they're causing me pain and they're causing the world pain. They are my enemies. So you may have personal enemies, people who criticized you, people who betrayed your trust. Yeah. Have you ever had people betray your trust? Anybody? Yeah. Oh, some of you? No. Yeah, we've all had people who've betrayed our trust. Have you ever betrayed other people's trust? Oh, no, I would never do that. They always betray my trust. I never betray their trust. Okay, self-centered attitude. Okay. But then we go, well, these people have betrayed my trust. How can I say they've been kind? You keep telling me all sentient beings have been kind to me. These people have not been kind. They have stole my things. They have cheated me in business. They said they loved me and then they left. They haven't been kind. They betrayed me. Okay. Yeah. What about those people? Well, actually, if you look at it closely, those people have also helped us. Yeah. First of all, they haven't always been our enemy. Sometimes they've been a stranger or a friend, and so they've benefited us when they were strangers or friends. But even when they harm us, yeah. Okay, again, I'm going to share some of my personal experiences with this. Yeah. I have had to grow so much from difficult situations. When people have harmed me in the past, I've been upset, I've been sad, I've been disappointed, I've been angry. But every time when, I process the situation and I make peace with what happened, and I learn to forgive the other person. Every time, going through a difficult situation, I have learned things that I never would have learned otherwise. Yeah. When people have betrayed my trust, what I've learned is that I have all sorts of expectations, my rules of the universe. And that when I have those expectations, and I expect somebody else to fulfill all of them, I'm the one setting myself up for my trust to be betrayed and for there to be problems in the relationship. Because nobody's going to do everything I want. Okay? I mean, look at it this way. If somebody said to you, I expect you to do everything I want, yeah, I expect when I'm happy that you're happy, when I'm sad that you tell me, that you pull me out of my unhappiness, that you make things better for me. When other people attack me, I expect you to come to my side with me in the dispute. Yeah, we expect that from people, don't we? But if somebody said that to you, what would you say? Somebody expects you to always be on their side, to always be kind, to always praise them, to always do what they want. What would you say? I don't know about you. I'd say, don't expect that of me. I can't do that. I can't be everything you want me to be. So if I can't truthfully say to somebody else, yes, I'm going to be what you want me to be, why do I expect other people to be what I want them to be and to never betray my trust? That's my stupidity, isn't it? Yeah. But then when they betray my trust, what I've seen is my stupidity. And that gives me an opportunity to change it. If I didn't have problems with other people, I would never see my own expectations. I would never see my own faults. So even the people who have harmed me, I've benefited from in terms of learning about myself and what I need to change in myself. And I'm always saying I want to be a better person. And these people are telling me how to be a better person. They're pointing out my faults. It's true, isn't it? We would like if they pointed out our faults by saying, I love you and you're wonderful, but you have this little fault. If they pointed out our faults that way, we wouldn't listen. They point out our faults by saying, you jerk, look what you did, totally a mess. I'm not following you anymore. Yeah, you really, But we've learned something important from them that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. Yeah, because we've had to look at ourselves and change. So we have to say thank you to those people. Mm-hmm. So in this way, okay, when we look at every sentient being, friends, enemies, strangers, we've received benefit from all of them. All of them have been kind to us. The enemy may have not had the intention to be kind, but the result of what they did was I learned something important, so they were kind to me in showing me what I needed to learn. Okay, so we begin to really, when we do this meditation a lot, see kindness around us. Yeah. And we realize that if we respond to people with kindness because we see them as kind, and we're a little bit more patient with their weaknesses and their mistakes and their faults, yeah, we find that we get along better with them. We find that our mind is more virtuous because we're thinking positive thoughts. And that influences the karma we create. And that influences how well we're able to progress on the path to awakening. Yeah. Because seeing the kindness of others is so important. You never heard of an angry Buddha, did you? Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever think that you'll see an angry Buddha who looks at you and goes, you don't practice well. Yeah? No, Buddhas are kind. Yeah. They're kind. So if we want to become a Buddha, we have to activate our kindness. And to activate our kindness, we have to see kindness. To activate our compassion, wanting others to be free of pain, to activate our love, wanting them to have happiness and its causes, yeah, then we have to embody love and compassion for others. Yeah. So this is like a totally different worldview than what our self-centered thought, how it looks at things. So we're, in doing these meditations and really thinking deeply about these things, yeah, our minds really, it starts to change and our actions start to change and everything starts to change in a very good way. And we gain a sense of confidence in ourselves, yeah, so that we overcome the mind that's always putting ourselves down. Yeah. And that kind of confidence is important on practicing the path. Okay. So I think we have 5 more minutes. If there's some questions, if you want to ask a few questions, that's fine with me. Raise your hand and unmute yourself, or talk to Diana, and then you can translate the question for me.
Ну вот у нас есть вопрос из чата, я прочитаю его на русском. Дайте, пожалуйста, совет по практике развития бодхичитты. Во время размышления и медитации о доброте живых существ, моих матерей, возникает чувство вины перед ними, сожаление о своем неблагом поведении по отношению к ним. И это чувство бывает таким сильным, что не получается двигаться дальше в практике, переходить к следующим этапам. Как с этим поступать?
Yes, guilt. Yes, I think this is something we all suffer from in one way or another. We feel guilty, and then we become very critical of ourselves. I'm such a bad person. Yeah. And especially when we start to learn about karma, we begin to look at our own actions and we say, oh, I've killed animals, I've cheated other people. I've lied to people. You know, when you hear the 10 non-virtues, yeah, I don't know about you, I've done all 10 of them. Okay? Anybody else done all 10? You know, am I the only one? Oh, some other people have too. Yes. Yeah. And then we criticize ourselves. Oh, how am I going to be a good Buddhist? I've done so much negative karma. I'm so selfish. Oh, you know, I've harmed other living beings. Okay. And we have what I call a pity party. We feel sorry for ourselves. Yeah. And so a lot of us, you know, we feel sorry for ourselves because we criticize ourselves so much. We feel so guilty about things. But again, we're expecting ourselves to be Buddhas when we aren't Buddhas. Yeah. We have all sorts of unrealistic expectations of ourselves, like, I should never make a mistake. Yeah. We think I should never make a mistake. Now, I don't know about you, I make mistakes every day. Yeah. And then I go, oh, I'm so terrible, you know. Oh, I burnt the toast. You know, I spilled the milk. You know, oh, I'm such a slob. You know, why are we so self-critical? And when we look at our self-critical remarks, how we talk to ourselves, most of them are lies. Okay? So we not only have told falsehoods to other people, but we've also don't tell the truth to ourselves. Yeah? Because we say things to ourselves like, I'm a failure. Yeah? I'm a failure. Nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. I've disappointed so many people. I can't do anything right. My life is a mess. I'm so terrible. Yeah. You ever gotten into that mental state? Yeah. I'm so guilty. I've made so many mistakes. I have so many faults. Yeah. I'm never going to become a Buddha. I can't become even a decent person. Yeah. Okay. Now, it's very interesting. Look at one of those things you tell yourself and ask yourself, is it true? I'm a failure. I can't do anything right. Really? Are you a failure? You can't do anything right? You managed to turn on your computer. You managed to link up. You managed to learn a language so that you can understand the teachings. Yeah. You did a lot of things in your life just to get to this point where here we are today sharing the Dharma. You did a lot of things right. So when you tell yourself, I can't do anything right, I'm a failure, is that true? Or are you lying to yourself? Okay. We make all these kind of extreme situations, extreme comments to ourselves. Yeah. You get depressed and you say, nobody loves me. No. Nobody loves me. Really? Really? Nobody loves you? I've seen some of you have cats and dogs. Your pets love you. Yeah. There are people in this planet that love you, that treasure you. Yeah. When you go to work, you've done many things right, because if you didn't, you wouldn't have a job. Yeah. So when you look, there's lots of sentient beings that love you. There's lots of sentient beings that care about you. So why do we criticize ourselves and feel guilty about things? When we do that, it's so extreme. Okay, I made a mistake. Well, I'll correct it. I'll learn from it. That doesn't mean that I've disappointed the whole world and I'm a disaster. Doesn't mean that. Okay. I can't do anything right. Well, you managed to, do something right, because you have a place to live, you ate breakfast, you have friends, you have family, you did something right. Yeah, you learn things, you have skills, you have a job. Yeah, you have talents. So what I'm getting at is, the feeling of guilt that we have and how we speak to ourselves is very distorted. And we tell ourselves a lot of lies about ourselves. And we have to learn to have some patience for ourselves and not expect ourselves to be perfect. Yeah, to realize, yes, we are learning and we will continue to learn. And that's good. But I'm not a disaster to, harming everybody on the planet. Okay. And I have some good qualities. Yeah, there are things that I do well. I do have a kind heart. I can be generous. I have ethical standards. I don't always live up to them, but I try. Yeah. When other people make mistakes, I don't immediately blast them and criticize them. I have some ability to endure difficulties, and when things don't work out the way I want them to, I have some good qualities. Okay. So we learn to see our own good qualities and then share them with the world. And okay, we're not Buddhists yet. We're a work in progress. That's okay. Yeah. But we're trying. And we create a lot of virtue in trying. And we must have created a lot of virtue in the past to have the opportunity to learn the Dharma that we have today. So if we were total disasters and so guilty, we wouldn't have any virtue at all. We wouldn't have the opportunities we have. But we have opportunities, we have talents, we have knowledge, we have skills. So it means that we've created a lot of virtue in the past. Yeah. And so in this way, to appreciate ourselves. Yeah. And not just always feel guilty and tear ourselves down. Okay. So I think that's a good note to end on. Yeah. because we've accumulated a lot of virtue, we've created a lot of virtue, just being together for 2 hours today. Yeah, exploring the Dharma, questioning our own self-centered thought, beginning to change it. Yeah, learning how to appreciate our own and other people's good qualities. We've created a lot of virtue. So let's dedicate this virtue, this merit. Yeah. And when we dedicate it, we're going to dedicate it for the well-being of all sentient beings. So I think you have some prayers in Russian that somebody can recite. Yes.
Да, конечно, сейчас.
Yeah. Okay. He's looking in the book.
Да.
You should memorize these prayers.
Силы, собранные мною заслуг от совершения
Okay.
практики этой, пусть все в мире, что есть существа, смогут избавить от страданий. И молитва о скорейшем возвращении ламы Сопа Ринпоче. Одну секунду. Сначала о Его Святейшестве Далай-ламе, о его здоровье и благополучии. Источник счастья и блага из края заснеженных гор, а Вактешвара, сострадательно зрящий, владыка Тензин Гицо, пусть нерешимо пребудет в мире, пока пребывает жизнь. Пусть скорее найдется перерождение ламы Сопа Ринпоче, и он продолжит даровать нам учение и распространять благо для всех живых существ. И пусть все надежды и чаяния Досточтимой Тубтен Чодрон тоже воплощаются, и пусть она живет долго.
But let's dedicate our merit to all living beings so that they can benefit from the virtue and the merit we created just in 2 hours. Yeah? So you shouldn't feel guilty. You should give yourself a pat on the back. I did well today. Okay. So thank you very much. I wish you everything good with your Dharma practice. I'm glad we, are in touch now, and I'm happy to help as I'm able to. Okay.
Thank you so much.
And
Спасибо.
I really pray that sometime in the future, our countries will get along so I can go back to Russia and be there in person with you, and so that you could come here and be at the Abbey and see what our life is like here. Okay, so may our countries also think about benefiting not only their own citizens, but benefiting everybody on the planet. Okay. Thank you.
Спасибо вам большое. Thank you very
Спасибо
much.
большое.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Спасибо огромное, переводчица Диана, огромное вам спасибо.
Диана, да, спасибо тебе большое. Что ж, я завершаю конференцию. Всем счастливо.